and welcome, Forza fans. I'm Charlie Hodson, and I'm going to be hosting this very special monthly episode of Forza Monthly, live from my home where I'm safe, and I hope you guys are as well. So, shall we have a look at today's schedule to see all the content we've got coming up on the menu? First things first, we are going to be going through the Forza Horizon 4 Series 21 update. I will be joined by Mike Brown as we talk new cars and 4 showcase remixes. After that, we're going to be talking more about Formula Drift, where I'm going to be joined by Matt Field, who's going to talk to us about how his in-game car and his other projects. Following that, we've got the esports update. Ali Tak is going to be chatting to me with an overview of what's going on in the Forza esports world. And finally, it's the community spotlight. We have a community member very well known for her virtual photography in Forza here to share some tips with you. So, as I said, we're going to start with Forza Horizon 4, the Series 21 update. And joining me to chat through these features is Mike Brown, the principal game designer at Playground Games. Mike, you there?
Hey Charlie, long time no see. It's been great to speak to you again after all this time.
I bet so much stuff has changed since the last time we spoke, huh?
Oh, absolutely. There's just so much new cars, new content, new features, more than I could possibly imagine. So it's going to be great to run through these with you for the first time in 10 minutes, and for hopefully a whole new audience who maybe didn't watch our previous show.
Absolutely. And you did say there is a lot of new content to come. So where do you want to start?
I think it's usually the best to start by looking at cars. So should we jump right in and do that?
Yeah, let's do cars.
Alrighty. So producer Tom has helpfully recorded some footage that we will be able to talk over and look at.
Thank you, producer Tom,
so,
by the way.
First up, we have the 2018 Ferrari Portofino. So players will be able to get this car in a brand new feature, which is being added, a brand new to Forza Horizon 4, returning from a previous game feature by taking photos of 100 cars. So this is the Portofino. It's considered to be the entry-level Ferrari. This replaced the Ferrari California and California T models. One of these will set you back around $215,000 to $250,000. So really earning itself that name of being an entry-level Ferrari. And it will... It's got a 3.9 litre twin turbo V8, which pushes out 590 horsepower. It's very lightweight as well, which means that with that 590 horsepower, it's able to reach 199 miles per hour, so nearly touching 200. And it'll do 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. So as much as it's considered to be the kind of entry car in the Ferrari range, it really is a very, very impressive car. I think it only has that moniker because the current 488 and 812 are so spectacular in terms of performance. Really great car. Really actually quite a really good driver's car. It's very, very friendly, very good to handle. Around 2/3 of people who buy this car, it will be their first ever Ferrari. So Ferrari do a lot of work to try and ease people in and make sure that they have a really great time with it. Something that it's actually kind of difficult to see, but it's quite funny when you look at the car, is it does actually have 4 seats. There are indeed 2 back seats in there, so there's room for you, a friend, and then 2 in the back. So you might wonder where those seats are or what size of human you'll be able to fit in them, but they are there. Yes, as I say, this replaces the California T, and it beats it out by an extra 40 horsepower as well.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think, and I think perhaps goes without saying because it's a Ferrari, but it is a really, really good-looking car as well. I think it's got really nice curves. It's got a really good balance to it. I think the California was a great-looking car, but I do think that the Portofino beats it in pretty much every way.
Oh, don't tell the other
one.
Anyway,
let's see what we're going to next. It's a bit holding us in suspense a little bit. Okay, there we go.
That is all of them. So
yeah, it's that little pause made me wonder if Tom wasn't exactly sure what he wanted to do whilst recording the video. So this is the Porsche Gunther Works 400R. So again, a really, really cool, a really beautiful car. This was made by a company that used to be called Vorsteiner. They now call themselves Gunther Works. And Vorsteiner were well known for making really, really high-end, really high-quality aftermarket wheels and body kits for cars. They were real specialists in carbon fiber. And this was their first attempt at making a car of their own. As you can tell just by looking at it, it obviously isn't 100% their own work. It is based on an existing car, which is the 993 Gen Porsche 911, which is the kind of mid-90s version of that car. What they've gone for here is to try and imagine what would a GT3 RS version of that car look like, because Porsche didn't sell the GT3 RS until the generation after this. And so they've taken this car and basically completely stripped it down and rebuilt it from carbon fiber, put a brand new engine in there by Motorsport Racing, which is a 4-litre flat six, naturally aspirated. It's super punchy, it has a real great sound to it, and it puts out 431 horsepower. Because the car's so light, because it's all made out of carbon fiber, it really, really has a great performance as well, really good top speed, and drives really, really well. So if you want to buy one of these in real life, well, unfortunately, you can't, because they only made 25 of them. But if you'd been there a couple of years ago, then you may have been able to order one of these. The starting price was $525,000, and on top of that, you also had to bring with you a 993 Porsche 911 Carrera as a donor car. You'd given the Porsche 911 that you had plus a little over $500,000, and they would
here's
return
my car and here's my money,
looking like this. Yeah. What I really, really love about this, though, is there are quite a few houses who will take a cool sports car, or a car like this one, actually. And we've looked at one previously on a previous show, which was the Porsche Emery Special, where they really focused on luxury, about rebuilding the whole thing out of really, really luxury components, luxury parts, luxury materials. This one focuses on being track spec. It's all about really, really high-end performance, really kitting it out to be thrown around a racetrack. And I think for that, it's a really, really cool and really, really interesting car.
No, I like that. It's a very good looking car, very good sounding car, ticking all the boxes for me.
Yeah, looks great. Sounds great. Perfect. Has a really cool name. Gunther Works. Sounds super German. Are actually based in California. Okay. Okay, so next up we have the 1992 Toyota Supra. This was kind of the last versions of this Mark III car. So this was kind of really late in its life. I think it started around 1986, but this is the 92 version. So one of the final ones before they transitioned over to the Mark IV. What's interesting about this is it was never released outside of Japan. So never available in the US, and therefore never made in anything other than a right-hand drive, which means it's perfect for UK roads because the steering wheel is on the correct side. Interestingly, this was the first Supra, or the Mark III Supra was the first Supra to carry that name on its own. Cars before this Supras before this were part of the Celica line, so it would be like the Celica Supra. It was like a sub-family of that particular line of cars, and this was where it really marked its becoming its own line of cars, which is super interesting now when you think about how iconic the Supra line is. Certainly with the car that followed this, the Mark IV Supra, I think probably one of the most iconic cars of all time. So this version, perhaps not as well known, perhaps not as iconic, but still a really great car in its own right. It has a 2-litre inline six, twin turbo. It puts out around 207 horsepower, so not an incredible power output, but still pretty decent. And because it's got a front engine and rear wheel drive, it is really, really well balanced for drifting. So as soon as you can get in there and tune it up and crank up that power a little bit, it can be a really, really great drift car. Also at stock, the turbo lag can really hold you back, especially on the windy roads of Britain. So I think getting it in there and adding a few choice upgrades is really key to getting the most out of this car. And Tom won't show us in this video, no doubt, but it also has pop-up headlights, which makes it that little bit more adorable.
I love a pop-up headlight.
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't love a car with pop-up headlights?
Let us know in chat, please. We need to know who specifically this one person is.
All right. So next up, this is the Formula Drift 599. It's an absolute stunner of a car. So this one, we obviously had the Formula Drift car pack that was available to buy. And I think it's available for free if you're a Game Pass subscriber as well. So if you haven't already downloaded that, make sure you do, because it's available if you are a Game Pass subscriber. So this car is absolutely ridiculous. It's based on the 599. It's got a twin centrifugal supercharged 6-litre V12, and it sounds absolutely ridiculous. puts out over 900 horsepower as well. And it's got a really cool story because it was originally built by Daigo Saito, a Formula winner of both Formula Drift and the D1 GP. And then I guess when it's finished with this car, I guess you'd call it that, it was then taken over, probably for money, by Federico Scarifo, who now races it in Formula Drift. So he took it over to Italy, reworked it, gave it a new name. He calls it the Fiorella. I'm probably ruining that pronunciation. But it's now absolutely crazy. And something that's, again, it's kind of hard to tell from the kind of angle that we're looking at it from, but it's super, super wide. It's actually a really, really big car. The 599 on which it's based was already a large car, probably similar width to a small pickup. But it's now added onto a wide arch kit on top of that to allow for that extra steering angle for when you're drifting. So it really is huge compared to other Formula Drift cars, and just got a lot of personality. It's just really cool. Yeah, and so Tom ably showing us off as well. He's decided to do this drift run in hard mode as it's winter and the road is covered in slush. But
I find everything in hard mode on winter, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, it's. I definitely would have held off if I was him recording this and just waited for it to change over to spring before recording this particular run. But he's really gone for it. He looks like he's going to get a decent score as well, so long as he doesn't completely ruin it before the end.
I like the way you're calling 200,000 points a decent score. You've clearly not seen me try to drift.
I'm not sure what the leaderboard on this score is now. I think I'm sure someone's topped 1 million by now. So I'm sure people in chat will know. I feel bad for not keeping on top of it. So. But no, a respectable score. He's got 3 stars. Great job, Tom. You've not let yourself down. And there you go. Just giving us a look at the pretty sweet paint job on that. All right. Now, this one's super interesting, and this one is where I might get myself into trouble because the owner and driver of this car is going to be on the show in a bit. And so I have to caveat this, that all of the stats I give for this car were based on the day that we had the car in hand in order to take all the reference photography and get all the stats for it. So the one he's going to show, or the one that we may get a chance to have a look at a little later on, not to throw any spoilers out there, might be slightly different to this version because there is a lead time between us getting a few thousand photos of it and getting it into game. But anyway, yes, this is Matt Field's car from Formula Drift. And this replaces the Nissan 240SX that he'd used previously. It is a Corvette as well, which is, again, pretty unusual in Formula Drift to see a Corvette. So he's obviously had to do a huge amount of work to get it up performant and get it up to the appropriate level to take on Formula Drift. So it's based on the 2013 C6 Corvette. It's got a 7-litre LS-based engine, and it makes... I think this version that we photographed makes 1,050 horsepower. It has a centrifugal supercharger as well, and even a little NOS to make sure we're hitting out that horsepower as much as possible. At least that's, as I say, what it was in game. I don't want to be corrected by him in a few minutes' time. So yeah, most of it's been replaced by carbon fiber, so it's super lightweight, but it does retain the Corvette's transaxle transmission, which is, again, pretty interesting. Yeah, so this one is available for completing 50% of the events in the Summer Festival playlist.
It's not bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got it just sounds absurd, doesn't it? It's absolutely ridiculous.
I'm just watching it now.
Yeah, I know. I'm waiting to see if that. I mean, I don't know why I'm expecting Tom to fail on this drift run because he obviously would have just recorded another one if he did. But I am just still interested to see what score he gets.
I don't think he's going to beat the last one. The last one was 200k or something. Just shy. Won't be a personal best.
Oh, just shy. We'll have to get Matt Fields himself to have a go and see what he can do.
Now that sounds like a plan. But before we do move on to that section, I do want to talk a little bit. We saw and we spoke a little bit about the new feature Horizon Promo. It's obviously a returning feature, so fan favorites of the series will know about it. But do you want to walk us through what this actually is for those who maybe haven't used it yet?
Yes, so Horizon Promo is certainly a feature that's very close to my heart, mostly because when I first joined Playground Games, as we were entering production on Forza Horizon 2, it was the very first feature that I worked on, so it has a very special place in my heart. No one else probably cares about that, but they do care about the fact that it is a... I think they probably do care. There is a really, really cool and fun feature. It's a really great way to interact with the game world. It's one that it's really, really quite difficult to complete because there are just so many cars in the game. But basically you drive around the world, and the challenge is take a photo of every single car at the Horizon Festival, of which there are many. It says in the bottom left there 685. I think it might even actually be slightly higher than that now. And I should just say as well, don't read anything into those numbers. Whatever the maximum number that's currently in the game will be updated as we add more cars. Don't see that as a cap that we're racing towards or anything like that. We will update it as and when it needs to be updated. Yeah, so you're driving around, you're seeing these cars that have that little camera icon above them. You then enter photo mode, take that picture, and you'll start working towards those rewards, of which there are several. So I think you can get... I don't have the same notes that Dave did on the previous stream, but it was 700 and something thousand credits, lots of wheel spins, and also those incredible cars we just looked at earlier. So taking photographs of 100 cars gets you the Ferrari Portofino, and taking pictures of 200 cars gets you the Porsche Gunther Works. Yeah, so it's a really, really fun feature, and it's one that has a lot of life to it as well. It's one that you can just keep dipping into. It's very hard to finish, and every time that we add new cars, it just extends this feature, and it gives you new things to go and try and chase down.
I'm keen to dip into it though, like, because obviously you can take off that icon. So we were discussing earlier of like, if you don't want to have it there, you can switch it off, but also hard mode, when you have no idea what cars you haven't taken pictures of, and you're just taking pictures of everything.
Yeah, maybe if we're feeling cruel one day, we'll add an achievement for successfully taking photos of cars with it whilst that setting is turned off. So yeah, here you can look at all the rewards lined up. I should have waited until this moment before talking about this, but yeah, there's quick chat phrases, credits, wheel spins, and it's 2 awesome cars as well. And as I suggested, as we're adding new cars to the game, we'll add on more targets at the end of that, and maybe more rewards as well.
Nice.
Cool. So all the while that Tom was showing us that, he was actually driving one of the other new cars in this update, which is the 2018 Mercedes AMG E63S, which we'll hopefully get a look at if we do any more driving. This is the updated screen for this. So we used to have the car collection screen where you could just go and view which cars you didn't own yet, so you could try and complete that collection. It's now been updated, so you can view both the cars that you own and don't own, but also the cars that you have and haven't photographed. So it's pretty useful because you can get a view of the cars that you own, say in your garage, but you haven't yet photographed. So if there's there's usually some cheap points in there if you want to go and just get them out of your garage, take a photo, and then
take a picture,
move on to
get the next one. Yeah, easy mode.
Yes. So
are there any achievements that come with this promo as well, by the way?
What was that, Charlie? Sorry.
Do we have any achievements that come with this new mode? This just personally is an achievement hunter, just wondering.
That answer is going to have to wait for a future update, I'm afraid, Charlie. You have jumped the gun slightly, but
I'm happy with that answer.
Worry not, achievement hunters. You will be well served in due course.
Love that. Well, obviously that's a new feature that we do have, but there are also some showcase remixes as well coming in this new update. And I said remixes on purpose because it's plural, because there's 4 of them.
Yes, that's right. There's one a week for the whole series. Showcase remixes are a really great feature for us, I think, because showcase events are a thing which are really, really fun and memorable, but players tend to play them once and then never ever go back to them again. So by us remixing them, by changing the season, the weather, the time of day, the car, we're able to really put a whole new, fresh spin on them, which gives players a really compelling reason to go back and check them out again. Helps as well that we also put some cool rewards on there, so you can usually get something a little extra for going in there and winning. And in this series we have 4, so there's 1 per week. So make sure you tick those off as well, because if you are trying to complete your star card, I think there's a challenge in there for completing 5 showcase remixes, so you can get almost all the way there just from this one series.
Wow.
Yeah, they are.
I love it.
They are a really cool feature, and they allow us to do things like that as well, where you can have a reference to a popular movie franchise, but without actually mentioning the name of it, such that you might have to, infringe on their IP.
Right, well, on that note, Mike, I want to thank you so much for joining us and running us through the Series 21 update for Forza Horizon 4. I hope you're looking after yourself, and I will speak to you again very soon, I'm sure.
That's great. Thanks very much, Charlie. I'll see you again soon.
No worries. Thank you so much. Right, so as Mike touched on in there, we do have the 2013 Formula Drift Corvette coming up, which was driven by Matt Field, the real live driver of that car, and he was putting it through its paces. We also do have Matt on the line as well, I believe. Matt, you there?
I am here.
You're there, but you're not alone, are you? What's that?
No, the car is here.
Wow. Okay. You know what? I had a question. Please talk us through that car, because could you? Oh, just look at it.
So right now we're in the phases of rebuilding, right? So every off season, which was the end of 2019, we completely rebuild the car. So the engine comes out, the gearbox, the diff, every nut and bolt gets gone over. We repaint it. We have to change any wiring or any upgrades that we decide to do along the year. So right now we're in the phase where the car is all coming back together. I have had 4 test days under its belt, so it's mechanically sound. So right now we've been focusing on getting it aesthetically sound. So we just fit all the brand new body panels. It has new paint. It has new stickers coming. So you can see the stickers aren't quite on the car, but those get updated every year, just like the body panels, because as you know, with drifting, you tend to crash and smash and rub body panels a little bit. So we're in the phases where we're almost ready to be completed, and we're just going to be waiting for the season to start.
Well, perfect. I think we're going to have a little tour of it later, but first I want to talk to you about you yourself. First of all, can you tell us a little bit about what Formula D is and how long you've been racing in it?
So Formula D is actually short for Formula Drift. It's the professional drifting racing series in the United States. And obviously drifting is a little bit different from traditional racing and motorsport. And I would hope by now the majority of people understand the differences there, so I don't have to get into that. But I've been doing Formula Drift for, I think this is going on year 11. So I've been doing it professionally for almost 11 years. And for the last 3 years, this will be year 3, I've been driving a Chevy Corvette. So up until this point, I was driving my 97 Nissan 240 SX, which you guys have had the luxury of being able to play in the game up until this point. And a couple of years ago, I decided it was time to kind of make a change. I needed something a little bit new in my life. It was a good refresh for a lot of my partners, and I think a lot of the people in the drifting community were surprised that we decided to go with the Corvette. And now if you look at it, lots of people are already playing it in the game and driving them in real life. And obviously this is my 3rd Corvette now, so I have 3. So I've definitely fallen in love with them, and drifting has taken me, to that place.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's I mean, there's no easy way to put this, but there's no easy way to get into drifting, is there? How did you and why did you decide to make a career out of this?
So that's the cool thing about drifting. Although there is fairly high barriers to entry in the professional leagues, the cool thing about drifting is that anybody can start drifting. Not just anybody can decide one morning, wake up, hey, I want to be a Formula One driver. I want to drive NASCAR or IndyCar, right? I mean, those barriers to entry are even a little bit higher. But anybody can decide, like, all right, I'm saving up $1,500 and I'm going to buy the crappiest car that I can possibly buy that's rear wheel drive, that I'm going to be able to go out and have a good time. And the cool thing about drifting is it just needs to be rear wheel drive, and it takes a couple small modifications for you to be able to go out and have fun. There's plenty of grassroots events that allow you to just go out on a big open skid pad and rip off some tires. So I think that's why drifting is very relatable to people, because although I'm doing it on a professional level, and yes, this car is absolutely bonkers, but I'm having the same amount of fun as the kid who's 16 years old who just bought his first car is.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, you've been quoted as saying that drifting has changed your life. What does it mean to you?
Yeah, drifting really has changed my life, because my life is 100% all things drifting. It took me not very long actually to decide that this is what I want to do, but it did take a while to work my way up and get to the point where this is a full-time job. I first saw drifting when I was like 15 or probably 16 years old, like right in front of my face. A buddy drifted around a parking lot when I was out at the parking lot skateboarding, and I just lost my mind. My eyes got this big, and I went home, and like a lot of other people, you go home and you start searching everything on YouTube, and then you watch the Drift Bible, and you just absorb all the information that you possibly can. But with YouTube back then, there wasn't a lot of drift videos out on there. So our viewership was kind of limited, and the sport was only really big in Japan when I first started understanding about the sport. So since then, fast forward 14 years later, and drifting is still my life. I just do it on a much larger scale now, where I travel around. I have a shop, like right now we're in my shop, Drift Cave, where we build and maintain drift cars for customers as well as what I have going on with my own stuff. So I pretty much spend between 6 and 7 days a week here at the shop. And if I'm not here at the shop, I'm either out doing drivers coaching or driving myself or competing or just training and having a good time. So to say drifting has consumed my life is an understatement.
I mean, you live in the dream by the sounds of it. You made a dream and you went and lived it. But you also said you're not just a driver and you've done some coaching and some other elements as well.
Right. So I'm also a business owner to start out, right? Which is why we're sitting in my shop, my business right now. I have a couple of guys who work for me, and also we have people who work for us, like on the race team as well. So I have that aspect. In my shop, we're predominantly a fabrication shop, but we can do a little bit of everything. So that's where I started honing my skills, was in fabrication, and many years later, that grew to owning my own business where we build drift cars and do pretty much everything in house. Yeah. I also do some driver coaching. So to kind of explain, there's like Pro 1 within Formula Drift, Pro 2, and then Pro Am. So I like to work with some of the Pro Am drivers and the Pro 2 drivers to get them ready to become Pro 1 Formula Drift drivers. Because this sport has advanced as much as it has, the cars are nutty, the teams are nutty, budgets are getting out of hand, but it's heading in the direction of professionalism. So the barrier to entry into that is getting a little bit more difficult, and no longer can just pure skill get you there, because it takes a certain amount of knowledge from the driver to be able to communicate with the team, to be able to produce a car that's going to continue to get better throughout the weekend, right? So I try to work with drivers and help them on their driver skill, but also with the team building and being able to have them understand the language to what it takes to make the car better. Because something I pride myself on more than just a driver is being able to work on the car, maintain the car, and then also progress it throughout the weekend to try to make it as good as it possibly can be.
Actually, you know what? Talking about the car, it's about time. It's been sat there. It's been looking at me. Can we have a look at the car now?
Yes, absolutely. Let me grab this down.
Oh, I'm
Make
so
sure
excited
I'm
for this
flipping
bit.
this correctly. Hey, there we go.
So what are we looking at
to
here?
be completely honest, the engine and the package, because we were talking about, it's so different and this and that, but realistically, when I built this car, it had way more power than it actually needed to have. So at this point, it still makes the same 1,050 wheel horsepower. It's still Vortex supercharged, and we still spray nitrous. So overall, the package is quite similar, especially if you guys can see in the game. But there's just been a few changes throughout the year. Like I put a brand new intercooler this year, and that was changed. But other than that, the majority of it has been kind of the same. It's the same Borla exhaust. It's the same engine that you see before. So it's pretty cool that I built the car, it's going on 3 years now and relatively the same. Let's open up in here.
Oh, we're going in.
Yeah, we're going in. A little addition from when the car was originally photographed is I put carbon fiber doors on it, and just made my life a little bit easier to lose weight. So maybe you guys will notice that the doors were blue on the game and now they're carbon fiber. Just that's the reason why. It's been upgraded. But you can see in here the racing pedals, the dash. Let's see, let's fire this thing up. Oh yeah. We'll move on to the back. And you can see there's a lot of carbon fiber in the car. Like this is a fan shroud that's made out of carbon fiber. This is where the air actually gets sucked off the radiator, because it's a rear mounted radiator. You can see the radiator down here where it blows out the hot air. Nitrous bottle. These are like oil catch can and water catch cans overflow stuff, but you can see all of this is carbon Kevlar on the body panels.
Wow.
Even the doors, very flexible. Let's see. But overall, mostly the same car. The biggest changes, I would say, are probably the suspension. Throughout the years, we've worked really, really hard on developing the suspension. And I partner with a company called Part Shop Max. And with them, we've been able to produce parts that I feel like have changed the world of drifting, because now any person can go ahead and buy the same parts that I run on this car and make their car a drift car, because probably the biggest limitation with Corvettes is steering angle. So fortunately, that's been solved, and all you guys can go out and hopefully buy a Corvette and enjoy it as much as I do.
Well, I mean, I could genuinely talk to you for hours and look at that car for hours, and the enthusiasm and passion on your face, I think, shines through right now. So a huge thank you from me and all the folks watching at home for taking us through that. Look after yourself, and hopefully we speak again soon. Thanks so much, Matt, for joining me today.
Thank you guys very much, and I'm very excited to play on the game. So hopefully I see you guys out there.
See you there, Matt. Thank you. So now we've covered real life driving and what that has to offer. What about virtual driving? We have our very own Ali Tak coming up next to tell you all about the great community competitions out there that you can put your Forza Motorsport skills to the ultimate test. But first things first, let's take a look at the highlights from the latest esports community reel.
Hello, I'm Track Tongue, head steward for Track, and this week we saw the Track Truck Championship head to Indianapolis GP for round 4 in Season 4. If you would like to get involved in any of the Track Run events, please head to www.trackonlineracing.co.uk.
Last month on Delta Online Racing.
Conrail Straight, and you'll see these Corvettes just start flying. Jula DT really coming up behind South really fast, going on the inside of South.
And William 7 coming at it as well.
Look at that, two abreast. Oh, a little bit of sparkage there.
But Sean keeps it around the outside here. That's beautiful, gets a better exit.
Oh, this is so good. It's like, what a move from Solar.
Get involved at deltaonlineracing.co.uk.
And ladies and gentlemen, the classic 12 Hours of Sebring, hosted by the Online Racing Association. Stent number 1, Lobby A, is underway, and out of turn number 1 they come with Ballistic leading the pack through.
And again, Jula on the outside into the grass of the track.
Whoa! Oh, Varus almost made that clean. If he had made that clean, that would have been an overtake for the ages.
Stars are out in 22 drivers going around the 3.7 mile Sebring International Raceway here.
All 3 of these prototypes are going to arrive at the same time. 3 wide through the hairpin.
Congratulations to Hydra, Chasmo, overcoming the odds that were already against you before you even stepped a tire out onto the track. GT class, it's 3 goats, 0 lambs, 1,088 miles, 0.53. That's Mitch, South, and Bokit putting on a clinic there. I'll take care. Have a great rest of the weekend.
Wow, wasn't that fantastic? And joining me now is Ali Tak. How are you?
Hey, yeah, I'm good. It's cool to be able to sit and watch the community chatting about their racing in their own voices. It was nice to be able to watch that reel and look back on a month that's really been a bumper month of racing in the Forza community. It's been cool.
So do you want to talk us through some of the stuff we would have seen in that reel just then?
Sure. So first of all, you saw the Forza Track Championship. The community is really diverse, and we've got lots of different kind of grades of racing out there. Forza Track are really sort of grassroots. They're where you might go to start off racing, where you might, you can progress to a pretty high level there, to be fair as well. Forza Track do a fantastic job there. They're running a truck championship right now. Swift is winning the thing at the moment with John in second and Joey in third. Delta Online Racing are out there as well. I've been racing in their championship. That was the second reel we saw. They've got a Retro GT championship right now. It's racing like sort of 70s through 90s GT cars, the stuff you might see in the Forza 7 GT Racing Reborn division. They're kind of these wild turbocharged kind of old school GT cars. A lot of fun to drive. The last round's coming up on Sunday. We're actually going to stream it right here on this channel so you can check it out how that goes down. But Delta have had an awesome month running both the Retro GT and the Z4 Spec Championship. On the one hand, Seven's been doing a great job leading Retro GT, but Jim Hydra is second in Retro GT and winning Z4s. So Jim Racing's latest sort of purchase, if you like, Hydra. He's just joined the team. He's doing a great job with them. That's been awesome. Sort of one of the, I guess, the jewel in the crown of this month's racing was the Online Racing Association's 12 Hours of Sebring. It's a full 12-hour race, 6 2-hour stints all plugged together, and you get driver swaps, you get all sorts of people out there at once. And that was amazing. We ran it here on this channel, me alongside Mellish, who a few guys might be familiar with, and also Matt 6661 from Twitch joined us. We came fifth, not quite as strong as a few of the other guys out there. As you saw in the reel, Hydra took the win alongside Chasmo, and in the GT class, it was South, Bokit, and Mitch. So a huge amount of racing this month alone in the Forza Esports community. It's been awesome.
It sounds amazing, and I can see how much you've really enjoyed it yourself. But for someone who doesn't compete, and let's say I was sort of interested in competing, where do you recommend you go at each level to actually start getting involved in these events?
Hey, I mean, if you're just learning how to drive, if you're learning how to be fast, then get out there in Rivals. You don't have to join a community series straight away. Get out into Rivals, get your chops, cut your teeth if you like, and you head on into the multiplayer menus as well. And then once you're out there in multiplayer and you're having a good time, some people will end up heading towards community racing. There you get guaranteed sort of clean racing, if you like. People are all vetted before they come in. There's qualifying. It's a whole to-do, if you like. It's a whole event. And people, will move towards there eventually. It's a long old road. I think, you can kind of talk about starting at the low leagues and working up, but I think for a lot of people, it's the big events that have the biggest draw. You want to go out and race in the 24 Hours of Le Mans. You want to race in the 24 Hours of Nürburgring as well. These huge events, and often they're a place to start. And if you enjoy yourself, then why not head out and try a few other leagues as well. It's very diverse, as I said. So there's something for everyone out there.
Yeah, it seems it. Yeah, and actually, can you speak a bit more about what community racing is? You said it's like clean racing. It sounds like there's loads of different components to that.
There are a lot of different components to that. I guess at core, multiplayer racing can be a bit rough and tough. We've seen FRR come along and clean up some of the hoppers. Some people will say to themselves, I don't want to put loads and loads of practice time into that just to be knocked off at turn one. And so to take that element of risk out, a lot of the community leagues will just vet the drivers who come in, make sure that everyone's in it for some good racing and not necessarily are going to go beyond the limit of good racing. And that's really what it comes down to, that sort of cleanness.
The cleanness. I also like you alluding to like beyond the limits of good racing. That sounds like a whole other conversation.
Yeah, I think you can never. It's such a big gradient like out there in motorsport, and just barging into people is rarely the thing that you just see. I mean, especially at a high pace, at the level of driver that we're talking about here. These are real esports drivers. So you're not going to see people just kind of not breaking into turn one. At the same time, there's, moves which are foolish and moves which are brave. And that can be a very, very fine line. So you don't want to come out and slate people. At the same time, there's controversy inside of the esports community. Just this month, actually, a super interesting one was between Hydra and Vettel. This has been playing out on Twitter over the last week or so. Hydra and Vettel are both teammates in this new gym team. They've come together in the Z4 Championship around turn 14 at Sebring. I don't know, check out Vettel's Twitter, and he's got a post up there. He's like, hey, what's your opinion? What do you guys think? Go and have a look. Give it your opinion. For me, it could be a racing incident, but for other people, people are pushing it too hard out there. It's not without controversy, and that's part of the fun, Charlie, of the whole thing.
I mean, you've sold me on the fun fully. I literally had no idea. I mean, I knew there was a lot, but this sounds like a really rich vein of things that even if you aren't competing yourself, you can actually get involved with and watching as well, right?
Well, that's right. And it's as diverse, if not more diverse, as the world of motorsport sort of traditionally is as well. If you look over at the Online Racing Association, we've lingered on Delta Online Racing for a long time. There are other organizers out there. One of them is Tora, the Online Racing Association. They're running a Miata Spec Cup right now. So that's just in like MX5s, heading around little tracks just for people who are getting into it. They're also running a TASCAR, sort of virtual NASCAR style championship. I've got to give a shout out to Mead212, who's leading both of those series right now. So that guy's just out there smashing it every day of the week. Yeah. Well played, Mead. And as I said earlier, if you're looking for truck racing, I think a few people out there might know that it's got a very special place in my heart in racing trucks. Then head over to forzatrack.proboards.com. That's the place to go to get behind the wheel of an 18-ton articulated lorry.
That's me sold. I was wondering, I heard that you've got some sort of calendar to show as well of other stuff that's going on in the next month going forwards.
Well, yeah, now we've had a little look at sort of what went on in the past month and maybe whetted a few appetites out there to get involved in some racing in the following months. There you go. Well, one at least. We can have a look at what's going to happen next month moving forward. And it's a bumper month, I've got to tell you, for racing on Forza Motorsport 7. I will say this is the highlights. This is just the very top level. There is so much going on. And in order to get it all, head on over to @ForzaRC on Twitter. That's the place to go. Esport highlights every week come out and places to sign up. This is just a few that I selected, which I thought were particularly cool. Pendulum Tuning Garage. They're finishing off their Porsche Cup. That's going to be this week. Heading on into next week, we've got the Forza GT Masters. It's Series 4 of that. It's a long-running series. And that's awesome to see that coming back. That's an organizer who I really enjoy seeing stuff from. Last week of the month, or third week of the month, I should say, Le Mans Esports Series will be back. That's another chance to win your way to the 24 hours of Le Mans on Forza Motorsport 7. So lots and lots going on. Lots of links there to scribble down on the back of your palm and have to read off later on. And lots to happen on Forza 7.
Wow, well, Ali, that was phenomenal. Thank you so much for not only filling in on the barrels of stuff that happened last month, but on everything to consume our time with on the month going forward. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for joining me today.
You're very welcome. Thanks so much, Charlie.
No worries. Look after yourself. Bye. So, up next, we are going to the community spotlight. If you've ever used Forza's photo mode to take virtual pictures, then you probably know how good it can feel when you finally nail that perfect spot. So, for our community spotlight today, we have Robi, who has made an impression on a lot of people with her virtual photography in Forza Horizon 4 and Motorsport 7. She wants to share some tips with you, though. But first, let's have a look at some of her best shots. I am joined now by Robi, who took those absolutely incredible shots. I checked out chat during part of that section, and they are all going crazy. Robi, welcome.
Hi.
How are
Hello.
you? Are you okay? You good?
Yes, I'm fine. I can't hear you so well.
No, that's I'm not sure. I'll just get a bit closer to the mic. That's never normally an issue for me. But first of all, I just want to know, what is actually your history with the Forza franchise?
It's a very new history, I would say. It's just started in December 2017 when I played the Forza Horizon 2 at my friends, and I really like it. And of course, I had to get Xbox for myself. And then I got also Forza Horizon 3 with it. So I started playing, and then came Forza Horizon 4, and I started playing, of course. But taking pictures, it started only last summer when I decided to start sharing my pictures on Twitter and Instagram with everyone. And pictures from Forza Motorsport, it started only this year when a friend of mine asked me for taking pictures of his cars. So yeah, that's it. It's very, very
really
new,
good impression.
I would say.
People absolutely love them. They're really, really lovely. I mean, I have to ask, do you take pictures in the real world as well, or is it just the virtual world you're incredibly talented at?
Thank you. Yes, I take pictures also in the real world, but it's just a hobby. So it's just nothing seriously. It's just for fun. Take my phone and take pictures, mountains and lakes and everything. The world's beautiful, but not cars. I don't know how to take pictures of cars in real life. Yes.
But luckily, you're very good at taking pictures of those landscapes in the real world that it's quite easy to apply them in such a beautiful game, right?
Yes, and the
Stick
game
a
is so
car in front and
beautiful,
there you
so
go.
it helps a lot to take beautiful
Yes.
pictures.
Now, we do actually have some pictures to talk through if you want. If you want to tell us maybe why you took the pictures or why you chose that car, anything that springs to mind about, I mean, just look at that.
That picture, I was actually streaming when I took it, and I asked people that were watching me, what car should I take? And this one was Broken Vegetable that asked for me to take this picture. And then it came. It's just, we were just playing together, and we took it. That's nice.
It's great. I love that it was just randomly you took it, someone asked for it, and you did it, and it looks like someone would have spent hours on it.
Maybe that's the minutes. I don't know. Not hours.
Should we have a look at another one?
Yes.
Oh, here we go.
Yes. This is from the festival showcase remix. I thought it was very nice to take pictures not only of cars, but the motorcycles. And I think they came out very nice. Yeah, it's nice. People want motorcycles in Forza, so they have some.
They're the only ones you see then, huh? We saw in the beginning as well with all the pictures that you've taken. You've taken a lot of pictures of wildlife in the game as well. I think there was a deer or a moose or something you took a picture of as well.
No, sorry, I didn't understand. What did you say?
I'm saying at the beginning, it's not just cars you're taking pictures of, it's actually other elements of the game.
Yes, because for me, it's not only about cars, the game, it's about everything. It's a beautiful game. It would be a waste to take pictures of only of the cars, I would say.
And we got this lighthouse shot here, actually. I can't quite tell if there's a car shot here, but that's pure landscape.
Yes, I like that picture very much. And I like the lighthouse. I have many pictures of the lighthouse. It's, I don't know, it's just relaxing. It's nice. The beach is near and the sun. And that is a picture of Forza Motorsport from the PTG Porsche Cup that's going on right now. Yes. So then it's all about cars.
I mean, they're gorgeous. I mean, for someone, I love to take pictures as well, but I often feel like all my pictures look the same. Do you have any tips on maybe how to improve, or what's the best thing to be looking for when we come to take a picture?
I think for improving, the important is take pictures and practice, and don't be afraid of taking them. because when you practice, you learn how to use the tools. It's maybe a little embarrassing to say, but took me a while to understand that I could zoom in and zoom out.
That's not embarrassing.
But I learned it. It's much easier now. And I think following the people that take pictures on Forza on Twitter and Instagram, for example, and asking for advices and tips, it's also good because they are willing to help.
Yeah.
And but and that's it, I would say.
So basically, follow the really inspiring community that already exists for taking pictures within Forza Horizon 4 and Motorsport 7, and just get stuck in. Have a go yourself, figure out all the buttons, and don't be scared. Just take pictures of everything, right?
Yes, take pictures, ask for advice, put them online. People will say if they like or they don't like. And then everyone has a different eye when they take pictures. So my picture will, even though we take picture from the same subject, my picture will be different of yours. So yes, that's it. So, yeah.
Very, very true.
Don't be afraid.
Thank you so much for joining me. I will absolutely be brave in all future photo modes. Thank you for the tips, and have a wonderful day.
Well, thank you for inviting me and for having me. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks again, Robi.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Bye. So we are coming now to the end of the stream, but first of all, we have some exciting news in the mobile world. So in case you missed it, Forza Street has opened pre-registration for devices that use the Google Play or Galaxy stores with iOS on the way soon. You can also tune into Inside Xbox tomorrow. That is the 7th of April at 2 p.m. Pacific or 8 p.m. BST at mixer.com/Xbox for even more Forza Street news. We are now just moments away from wrapping up another Forza Monthly, but let's quickly take a look at the week's stream schedule ahead. First of all, we have some special content this week. We're partnering with the Peterson Automotive Museum at Los Angeles, California, to bring you some exclusive behind-the-scenes looks at cars of their storied vault, my apologies. And whether you play Forza Horizon 4, Motorsport 7, or just like to talk about cars, we have a show for that. In fact, our newest streaming show, Forza Mingo, had its second episode last night. So if you've been hoping for an all-Spanish language show, we now have you covered at 8 p.m. PT on Sunday nights. You do not want to miss it. But that's it for Forza Monthly. Thanks to all of my special guests and to all you guys watching safely from home. We will see you next month. Thanks again. Bye-bye.